I need your guys' help. I have a few authors that are stuck in my head that I've heard great things about. I hear people talking all the time how these books are so amazing, yet for some reason the procrastination monster has gripped me and I can't choose which of their books to read or who to read first. So I want your guys' help choosing one of my books for my next month's TBR. Potentially May, we'll see how we're going to do it, is I've done chapters down below to each author. I'm going to list the 3 books that I think I want to start with the most, but you let me know which one you think I should read, which book you think is the most interesting if you haven't read any of these authors, and whatever one gets the most comments is the one I'm going to read. So let's start. My first author I've been thinking endlessly about because everyone and their mom has read this author is Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I actually own 2 of her books on my physical TBR. I have Malibu Rising and I have Atmosphere. Now, with Malibu Rising, I've probably heard the least about this one. This one seems to be about 4 very rich, kind of famous siblings, and they throw an end-of-the-year summer party, as they always do. But this one goes a bit awry, and by the end of the night, their mansion burns down, up in flames. I'm sure there's more mysteries. I'm sure all their lives are changed forever. But I have to say my reservation for this one is A, I haven't heard a lot about it, and B, I don't know if I like reading about rich people. I certainly don't like hearing about it in the real world, so I don't know if this is too much about the rich lifestyle. It might not be for me. And then we have Atmosphere, which I've heard incredible things about. My aunt actually gifted me this one after she read it, and she loved it, and she does have good taste. This one is about a woman who becomes one of the first women scientists to go into the NASA space program. So we follow her through this program as she falls in love as well, and then a big event happens. So this one should probably be the one I read first. However, there's another one of her books I think maybe I would like more, but I just haven't heard that many people talk about it, and I think it's just because I haven't been on BookTube for very long, so maybe I just missed when this was probably really popular. That one is actually Carrie Soto is Back. This one is a sports one, and I absolutely love sports. It is about Carrie, who is a retired tennis player. She used to break all these records, but now she has to watch as a new competitor starts to break those. She's pretty upset about this, so she's going to come back from retirement. If this is done well, I could love this. I really liked The Favorites because I think it was a realistic approach to how tough, how grueling sports can be. So if this is kind of like that, I could really enjoy that. Just because I'm so passionate about sports, I just can't read the ones where sports is kind of used as like dress setting. Like if you are a top of your sport, but for the whole book, you're never doing your sport, I just can't. So let me know if this is a good representation of the sport, if it does focus on the sport, or if it would be too romance heavy, you think, for me. Now, those are the books I'm most interested in. I do know there's one other book I'm sure people will recommend, but let me know. You can let me know if it's these 3 or if it's the other book that I should pick up first. Next up, we have a horror author, and it's Stephen Graham Jones. I've heard a lot of good things. Some of my favorite YouTubers, this is one of their favorite authors. Again, I just don't know which one I should start with. I kind of have a suspicion the one that I want to pick up might be the worst one to pick up, so you might have to de-influence me on this one. So you have The Only Good Indians, which is probably a really good pick, and it sounds like something I would be really interested in. And basically what this story says it's about is 4 American Indian men, after a disturbing event from their youth, puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent and vengeful way. This sounds like the horror I would love, so let me know if this should be my first pick. Then the next one, which everyone loves, is The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. This one is a kind of historical horror. It's got vampires in, and it seems to be a story that's told from a found diary of a pastor, and it tells about a forgotten massacre and the very long, unusually long life of a man. Gustav. Again, I've heard nothing but good reviews about this one, so this one should probably be the one I start with. However, the one that I was most intrigued about, but does get the lowest ratings, was I Was a Teenage Slasher. I think I could like this one. It's basically a story about these two teens who become killers over a summer, and their story becomes very famous. There's even a movie about them. I think I could like this because I like those fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of slasher. I read Ex-Boogeyman last year, and that was very tongue-in-cheek. Those like little horror Easter eggs from slasher movies and things like that I thought was really fun. But again, this gets pretty bad reviews. I think I've seen some people really love it, but I've seen other people just DNF. And although I think you can give authors another try, I don't want to start on the wrong foot. You know, if I should read this author, if there's a one I should definitely start with to get the best feel for their writing and to see if I could love this author. Then our next author is actually one I would say I probably can't go wrong at all. Pick up any of these books and absolutely love, and I will be reading her, but I would like some input on what you think is her best one, and this is Isabel Canas. She writes 3 gothic horrors that I think I could absolutely love. So the first one is The Hacienda, then you have The Possession of Elba Diaz, and then The Vampires of El Notra. So The Hacienda is about a woman who moves into a new home with her fiance because her home burned down, but she's determined to make the most of it and she doesn't want to be homeless. Unfortunately, this house isn't what it seems like, and there's some dark and mysterious things going on in there. Then you have The Possession of Elba Diaz. In this one, you have a family who moves to an abandoned mine after a plague breaks out. Unfortunately, this mine proves not to be a very safe place, and strange things start to happen, and Elba starts to have very strange hallucinations and convulsions. And then you have Vampires of El Notra, and this one is about vampires. You have our main character, Nina, who was actually attacked by one 9 years ago. Her childhood lover, actually thought she died in that one, but then they end up meeting together on the road accidentally when the United States attacks Mexico. But as they're trying to work this out, a creature from their past is brought back, and they have to work together to survive the night. All of these sound super interesting. I don't think I could go wrong. I just kind of have this paralysis of actually choosing one, so we'll see which ones you guys think is the best. Then we have an author so prolific, I'm surprised he doesn't get more hate for how many books he pumps out every year, kind of like Stephen King did or Frida McFadden gets, because oh my god, he has so many books and they're so long and they're fantasy, they're so world building heavy. But that is Brandon Sanderson. I have not read a single book of his. I am very intimidated by his series, so I thought maybe to dip my toe into this universe, I could try a standalone, but it's hard to know which one to start with. Everything is still within the Cosmere, so I don't know if those standalones are actually ones I can understand, or if they're still too much a part of the Cosmere that I'm going to be missing a lot of information. So if you could let me know if there's a true standalone that I would enjoy, or if one of these is just completely wrong, I'm not going to get enough information. The first one I have is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I really like the yin-yang that this portrays, the cover, the plot. This one is about Yumi comes from a land of gardens and meditation and spirits, while Painter lives in a world of darkness and technology and nightmares. When their lives suddenly become intertwined in strange ways, can they put their differences and work together to uncover the mysteries of the situation and save each other's communities from certain disaster? Sounds super interesting. Like I said, I like that yin and yang. I will say though, it is marked as fantasy and romance, so I'm wondering why it's not tagged as romantasy. Is it not a romantasy, or is it just because he's a man? Let me know, because I'm not a huge romantasy fan. It has to be done a certain way for me to like it, so I'm a little unsure about this one. And then the next one I had on my list is maybe too YA for me, but I like some YA, so I like this kind of whimsical fantasy. this almost like fairy tale story. So I could enjoy this unless it's too YA. Then I don't think I would enjoy it. But that is The Trees of the Emerald Sea. The one I really wanted to read is The Sunlight Man. This sounds like more of a sci-fi fantasy. Again, my only concern is that it is part of the Cosmere and there's potential. I just don't understand anything that's going on. But this one says, running, putting distance between himself and the relentless Night Brigade has been Nomad's strategy for years, staying 1 or 2 steps ahead of his pursuers by skipping through the Cosmere from one world to the next. But now his powers, too depleted to escape, finds himself trapped on a planet that will kill anyone who doesn't keep moving. Fleeing the fires of a sunrise that melts the very stones, he is instantly caught up in the struggle between a heartless tyrant and the brave rebels who defy him. Failure means quick death, incinerated by the sun, or a lifetime of mindless slave. Tormented by the consequences of his past, Nomad must fight, and not only for survival, but also for his very soul. Sounds super interesting, unless I just don't understand this world. My last author is a very heavy emotional hitter from all the views I've seen, and that is the one and only Kristin Hannah. I do actually own one of her books. I own The Nightingale. Somewhere, I guess I was so intimidated by it and didn't want it to be picked up, I have shoved it into some corner of my house, which I will find if you guys pick this one. But there were 3 that I was most interested in. She's a prolific writer. She has a lot more than that. But we have The Woman. This one is a Vietnam story a little bit. It is about a woman who goes off to be a nurse, a combat nurse. And then it's about her return home and kind of her conflict between what she saw over there and how she's treated back home when you have such a big anti-war sentiment and how hard that adjustment was. Sounds super interesting. I will say though that I'm a little hesitant to read a kind of another Vietnam story, especially told from Americans' point of view. I think I've read quite a lot of those and I'm not sure if that's still an interest for me. The other books I still want to read on the Vietnam War would come from Vietnamese point of view. So it just depends how this book handles that. But since it's centered on a nurse and more of her struggle once she's back home, I could be interested. And then the one I actually own, so somewhere, is The Nightingale. And this is kind of about the 2 stories of 2 sisters and their different lives as they live through World War II. Sounds like an emotionally heavy book. From what I've seen, a lot of people cried during this story. It is like tome size though, so I am intimidated to read it. The one that really caught my attention from her though is Home Alone. This story is about a family who moves to Alaska to start a new life. The father of this family is actually a returning POW of the Vietnam War, so he is struggling through things and they think that this can be their fresh start to a new life. Seem to be going well, but as things deteriorate, especially with his mental health, they realize how truly isolated they are in Alaska. This is very interesting to me. I do think people have rosy glasses when it comes to the North and what it's like up there. There's definitely some challenges with just the environment alone, but there are also some socioeconomic problems that happen in the North and a lot of problems that go unsolved, unfortunately, especially here in Canada. Like, if you as a woman said that you wanted to go work in the camps up north, you would have a lot of people discouraging you, and for, unfortunately, pretty good reasons. So I think this story that kind of shows maybe a little bit more of the truth of how isolating it is up there is something that is right up my alley. Those are all the authors that have been stuck in my brain, but for whatever reason, the Paralyzed Demon won't let me pick any of them up. Leave a comment down below, like other ones, whatever gets the highest rating, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to read it in April or May. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.